Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. I'm Ethan, 36. We were supposed to be saving for a house, not collecting stories for her friends. That's what I was thinking Friday night, walking into a loud downtown place after a 14-hour week, the kind where your back still hums from the desk. Her team had a promotion to celebrate. I showed up clean, on time, and tired, the way grown men do when they keep promises. The car argument was 3 weeks old. She wanted the luxury SUV with the big badge and the bigger payment. I ran the numbers and said no, not this year. We had a down payment goal and a clock on our lease. It wasn't a judgment on her. It was math. After that, our kitchen turned colder. Passwords changed. Group chats buzzed late. The kind of quiet war that makes a home feel borrowed. I heard her before I saw her. That stretched laugh she saves for strangers. She stood near the high tables with coworkers, posture saying this is my stage. A server slid past and I caught a line midair. He's obsessed with penny pinching. 6 figures and still acts allergic to fun. People laugh the way people laugh when they don't want trouble. I set 2 waters down and said hello to the circle. She barely glanced at me. The husband finally made it, she told them, like a presenter moving to the next slide. She tapped her glass. He's got a spreadsheet for everything. Groceries, trash bags, romance. If it isn't in the cell, it doesn't exist. More laughter. One coworker winced behind his beer. Another stared at her phone. I looked at her and then at the room. Congrats on the promotion, I told the woman in the center. I meant it. She smiled with relief. I asked where the team planned to go after, because I know how to be decent in public even when I'm swallowing fire. My wife cut across the answer. Don't ask him about fun. He won't even upgrade his sedan. I married a man who thinks leather seats are a moral failing. Someone tried to change the subject. She wouldn't allow it. The car became a character, and I became the punchline. He said no to an SUV while we build our future. Translation, he's cheap. She did the little air quotes. He's got this house before toys sermon. Meanwhile, I'm out here driving a toaster. She held out her keys. Don't scratch the appliance. I felt the room lean away. People know when banter turns into blood. I took a slow drink and let her run the set. The worst part wasn't the words. It was the approval she hunted after each jab. She watched their faces, waiting for a hit. That's when the motive snapped into place. This wasn't about a car. This was punishment for being the reason she couldn't post a photo next to a new grill and call it self-care. She queued up another bit. Ask him what he does for fun. He'll say compound interest. More laughter, thinner now. I set my glass down and asked a straight question. What are you trying to buy tonight? The SUV or applause? The table went quiet. She tilted her head, smiling wide. Calm down, it's only a joke. I nodded once. You're right. I'll calm down. No edge. Just air leaving a room. She took it as license and pushed harder. A coworker, too eager, too shiny, fed her lines, and she layered them with details only a spouse knows. My old college car, the paid-off loan, the weekends I worked side gigs. She framed every sacrifice as smallness. People who don't build things mistake discipline for poverty. I let the silence do my work. She ordered shots and announced that I could handle the tab because he loves statements. I paid for my water and tipped the server the way I was raised. The coworker who'd been laughing the loudest suddenly needed the restroom. That's how crowds evaporate. First the eyes, then the bodies. She followed me to the corner where I'd moved to get out of the traffic. Are you seriously sulking? That word always means the speaker needs you to shout so they can be the victim. I checked my watch. I'm leaving in 10. Calm. She leaned in, perfume heavy. Relax. Everyone thinks I'm hilarious. I said, not the ones with mortgages. I walked out first. The night air had more respect than the table. I didn't slam the door or make a scene. I sent the sitter an extra hour payment and drove home in the old sedan that carries our plans without complaint. My hands were steady on the wheel. She came in later, heels loud, energy still high from the crowd. The kitchen light turned the island into a prop. She tossed her purse and started rehearsing the defense we both knew was coming. It was a bit. You're too sensitive. Everyone knows we mess with each other. I put my keys in the dish. No one there felt invited to that. She rolled her eyes. So we're going to fight because you can't take a joke? I shook my head. We're not fighting. Fights mean rehearsed lines and easy apologies. I sat, folded my hands, and asked one more question. Clean, pointed, final. When did you decide to trade respect for laughs? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I told her what was going to happen because I was done asking for better. You have 1 week to move out. I'll prepare the documents. No thunder or threats, just terms. She stared, waiting for the flinch that always used to arrive. When it didn't, the noise drained out of her face. She tried to restart the show. You can't be serious. Over a joke? Over a car? I stood. Over the way you enjoyed cutting me open for strangers. I pointed to the stack on the counter, mortgage pre-approval letters we'd collected a month ago. That's what the sedan buys. A door we own. You made it about a hood ornament. She said I was controlling. She said I humiliated her by walking out. She said a lot. Words are cheap when the light changes. I cleaned the counter, loaded 2 glasses into the dishwasher, and pushed the button. The hum filled the gap where excuses try to live. I took a pillow to the guest room and left the bedroom light off. The house was quiet enough to hear intention settle into the drywall. She stood in the doorway for a while, half apology, half accusation. I turned on the lamp and opened my laptop. Her footsteps moved away. I slept well. No spinning. The decision sat where my anger used to be. In the morning I brewed coffee and sent 2 emails before the sun hit the window. One to an attorney asking for a referral. One to our bank confirming the freeze on discretionary transfers. I left a mug on the counter for her. Courtesy isn't weakness, it's my standard. She came down in a robe, eyes swollen. You can't do this in a week. I stirred my coffee. It starts today. She asked if we could talk. I said we just did. She asked if I'd reconsider if she apologized. I said apologies fix moments. Last night wasn't a moment. It was a map. She said her friends would think I'm cruel. I said her friends already watched her audition for a life where I fund the show and accept the jokes as rent. She said I was blowing everything up. I said I was putting the fire out. That was day 1 of 7. I didn't tell her what to take or where to go. I gave the dates and the outcome. She won't laugh at me again in a room I paid to enter. The car will keep running. The house fund will keep growing. Quiet built the future she tried to turn into a joke. Quiet also wrote the line that ended the act. The morning after the bar, the house felt clean in a way I hadn't felt in months. Because the noise was gone. A deadline does that. It shuts down negotiation and opens calendars. I poured coffee, opened my laptop, and gave the next 7 days a spine. Day 1 was structure. I called the attorney whose card I'd kept in a drawer and booked a consult for noon. I sent our bank a written instruction. Joint cards paused, discretionary transfers frozen, auto-pays reviewed. Essentials stayed on. Rent, utilities, the sitter. Groceries split at the register from now on. Simple math. She paced behind me in a robe, looking for the old version of me. The one who would argue, explain, soothe. I answered only direct questions, and only once. The rest went to voicemail in the room we both stood in. I moved through the rooms and made lists. I pulled the lease and the renewal letter. Her name wasn't on it by choice. She wanted distance from paperwork. I printed a 1-page move plan and left it on the counter. 7 bullet points, dates, keys, mail forwarding, storage options close by. No sarcasm. By noon I was downtown across from an attorney who has seen too many people wake up late. I told her the bar story, the motive, the line about jokes. She didn't blink. I drove home and ate a sandwich standing up. She texted from the bedroom, a mix of apology and attack, the alternating current she uses when a door won't budge. I replied once, move date, lawyer's name, boxes arrive tomorrow. She sent 3 more paragraphs. I put my phone face down and paid the sitter for an extra hour anyway. Day 2 was money. I opened a fresh checking account and moved my direct deposit. I left the household fund untouched except for the essentials already listed. I canceled her authorized user status with 2 clicks. Cash flow tells the truth even when people won't. At the checkout line, she met the new reality. She came home irritated, waving a receipt. I pointed to the move plan and asked if she'd booked storage. She slammed a door. Day 3, I moved to the guest room fully. Desk, laptop, a couple shirts, shoes under the window. The master stayed as she'd left it. That was deliberate. I wanted her to walk past the mirror and see the space she performed in for strangers cost something here. I slept well again. At work I told my manager I'd be unreachable outside core hours for the week. No oversharing, just capacity. I crushed my sprint. At lunch, I bought moving boxes and tape. I labeled stacks in the hallway: kitchen, closet, vanity, shoes. She saw them and asked if I was serious. I said I was on schedule. She called me heartless. I told her hearts survive and houses built on respect. Day 4, she tried a new angle. She made breakfast, put on music, talked about fresh starts. I thanked her for the eggs and asked if she had scheduled movers. She blinked and said we should talk. I said we were. She cried, then snapped, then suggested counseling, then blamed the bar crowd, then said I should learn to take a joke. I folded the dish towel and put it back on the oven handle. That afternoon, I signed the draft separation terms. Temporary occupancy to me, a clear parenting schedule, a civil handoff of property. I set a calendar event for the move-out date and shared it with her. Timestamp, address, expectations. One line in the notes. Keys on the counter by 6 p.m. Day 5, the house went quiet in a new way. She packed the easy stuff and left the heavy pieces scattered. She put on a brave face for a friend who came to help, but I watched her fold when they boxed the framed photo from our first apartment. This isn't about winning. It's about building a life that can hold weight. That evening, she tried for intimacy without repair. A hand on my forearm, a soft voice, a story about us being better than this. I stepped back. I told her trust is an account, and last night at the bar she overdrafted in public. Deposits take time and proof. She wanted the feeling without the work. Feelings don't sign agreements. Day 6, I photographed every room and saved the images with timestamps. She accused me of treating her like a tenant. I looked at the lease and the calendar and said the week is nearly over. She fired off a speech that used to make me explain myself. I put the phone on the counter and fixed the cabinet hinge that squeaked for months. Night of day 6, I packed a small duffel and set it by the door. Because I finish what I start. At 9 p.m., I sent a reminder for the next day's schedule. Movers at 10, storage unit at noon, key return by 6. She read it and went upstairs without a word. Day 7 arrived with blue sky and a truck outside. The movers did what they always do: wrapped, lifted, carried. She hovered, offered small talk, tried to recast the week as a misunderstanding. I signed a receipt and tipped the crew. She asked if I would reconsider. I told her reconsideration came with clear terms weeks ago when respect started slipping. She said she was sorry. I said I heard her. Then I asked for the keys. At 5:50, she placed them on the counter between us. Hands shaking, eyes rimmed red, the weight of a joke that wasn't funny sinking in. I thanked her for handling her side and wished her a safe drive. She reached for a hug. I offered a nod. Boundaries are a muscle. They get stronger when used. After she left, I stood in the doorway of the master and breathed. Not relief. I carried my desk back in and set it by the window. That night, I wrote 3 short messages. One to the landlord confirming the occupant change. One to my attorney confirming the handoff of keys and the next steps. One to myself in a notes app. Keep your standards. I put my ring in the same drawer as the attorney's card. I didn't close the drawer hard. The sound of a clean slide is enough. Calm isn't ice. It's heat that learned discipline. She told me to calm down in a room full of strangers and expected me to swallow what that meant. I gave her the real thing. 7 days. No noise. Everything done. Tomorrow I will call the bank to finalize a few minor items. Consequence has a sound. It's the quiet after the truck pulls away and the house exhales. Keys gone, doors soft again, the echo of her heels replaced by the tick of the kitchen clock. I stood in the master doorway and let the room answer the question she kept dodging. Jokes don't pay rent. Respect does. The first 48 hours were a carousel of tones from her phone. Sweet, then sharp, then the long paragraphs built to trap me into debate. I kept it to one-sentence replies where logistics required it and silence where it didn't. Deadlines are honest. They don't argue, they arrive. She tried guilt by memory. Old photos pinged across my screen. Our first apartment with hand-me-down furniture, a photo from a beach trip where we were both sunburned and broke. That night we ate noodles on moving boxes and called it a date. I scrolled once and put the phone face down. Nostalgia without accountability is advertising. Her friends messaged too, the ones who laughed at dinner and then looked away when the laughter curdled. One sent a brave line about misunderstandings. Another went straight to blame and called me controlling. I sent the same 4 facts to both. The bar, the performance, the week, the move. No color, no extras. You learn who wants clarity and who wants a villain. Money did the next part for me. She walked into a dealership to test drive the SUV that started this mess. She texted a photo of a glossy hood and wrote, "I can do this on my own." 2 hours later, a second text landed, a screenshot of a finance denial and a string of dots. Math shows up even when pride won't. I didn't gloat. Day 3 of separation brought the social ripple. Word travels through offices faster than memos. A coworker who had winced at dinner sent a discreet message, "You didn't deserve that." I thanked him for the note and asked him to leave me out of any retellings. No speeches or rally. The people who saw already know what they saw. That evening she tried seduction without repair. A soft knock, a soft shirt, careful makeup, a plan to talk somewhere private. She stepped inside the doorway with a smile she used to wear for me. I didn't move from the table. Truth needs daylight. I laid out a single term, direct apology to me and to the people who watched, counseling scheduled with times on a calendar, a written commitment about public respect. Her face cracked in the middle. Pride hates paper. The pivot came on schedule. She turned to blame. The word insecure came out first, then controlling, then you embarrassed me. I didn't bother with the mirror. She had already seen it when the finance manager shook his head. I walked her back to her car and closed the door gently. The porch light clicked off behind me. She tried panic next. A group text went out to our circle claiming I had blindsided her, that I'd always been cheap, that I was punishing her for wanting a nicer life. I didn't answer. Within minutes, 2 of her friends left the thread. Another sent me a private message apologizing for laughing at dinner. Consequences don't need my voice. They brought their own. I sent one message that night, but it wasn't to her. It went to the dinner host. Appreciate the invite last time. I left early because the event turned personal on the mic. I won't be attending future gatherings while we untangle this. Wishing the team well. Facts, no fire. The reply came back quick and respectful, then silence. A boundary has shape when you draw it with a ruler. She arrived the next morning with a box of items she forgot. Hairdryer. 3 chargers. 1 framed photo. At the door she started a speech about the good times and how people will talk. People already did. I signed the inventory, handed her a sealed envelope with the next steps from my attorney, and stepped back so the door could close slowly. No final shouted line. The soft latch beats the thunder. I didn't comfort the fallout she lit. That was intentional. Her game had always depended on me being the cushion, the soft landing after the hard joke, the apology for the thing I didn't cause. I stopped being furniture. When the calls came at 11 p.m., I let them ring. When the texts asked, "What do you want from me?" I sent the 3 bullets again. Accountability, counseling, respect in public. That's the whole list. By the weekend, she tried a theater move. A casual group invite went out for drinks at the same bar. I arrived for 10 minutes because I prefer clean endings to ghost exits. I ordered water, tipped heavy, and told the host I'd be gone by the time the first round hit the table. She walked in late, ready to play charming. When she saw me, her posture stiffened like a wire. I stood, said enjoy your evening, and left before any cameras could tell a new story. The guy with the shiny smile from last time watched me go and kept his eyes on the floor. Back home, I packed the last of her mail and set it aside for pickup. I made a small change to the living room. Moved the couch so it faced the window instead of the TV. Monday brought a different knock. Our sitter arrived early, worried about us. She'd heard pieces. I paid her for last week's extra time and told her she handled everything perfectly. Good employees get clarity, thanks, and money. That's respect, too. She smiled in a way that told me she'd passed the right story without needing to talk. Her last move was the one all performers try when the crowd leaves: rewrite the script. She sent an apology that avoided the word sorry and asked for a coffee to process this together. I forwarded the counseling contact and offered 2 appointment windows. She fired back that I was cold, that a husband should care how his wife feels. A husband should. A man does not soothe the hand that cut him open on purpose. I didn't poison the well. The only public thing I kept was my posture. It did what she wouldn't, held weight. The mirror punishment was quiet and exact. She felt the same emptiness she'd tried to hang on me in front of her circle. The same silence she forced on me when she waved me off at that high table is the silence I gave her now when she wanted a hug. At the end of that week, my attorney emailed a clean packet. Temporary terms filed. A draft for a longer agreement if we chose that route. I signed, scanned, and sent. I don't play winner and loser. I play builder or breaker. She performed breaking and called it humor. I built a line and stuck to it. She feels the loss now, in her feed, in her texts, in the eyes of people who watched her cut and then watched me refuse to bleed on command. Closure isn't fireworks. It's a calendar that keeps its promises. After the keys and the truck and the quiet, I got two things back that I had let slide: my standards and my time. I stopped checking the door at night to see who I had to be for someone else. I started checking the list I wrote for myself before this marriage ever existed: build, protect, lead, rest. For words, beat 100 apologies. The legal work moved forward without theater. Documents went where they were supposed to go. I tightened language, removed fluff, and kept the focus on schedules and property. Emotion wanted to sneak into footnotes. I didn't let it. When a draft arrived with soft language about reconciliation windows, I crossed it out. Leaving room for maybe is how you end up living as almost. She tried to rewind. A long email arrived, careful punctuation, a few lines that could have worked months ago. It circled the word respect without landing on it. She wanted coffee to process, a word that always means, make me feel better before I change. I sent back the same 3 terms I had set before: clean apology to me and to the room she used as a stage. Counseling with dates, not someday. Written boundaries for public and private respect. No commentary. My posture doesn't need decoration. Her reply was fast and hot. I was cold. I was transactional. I cared more about money than love. She attached a draft apology, 2 paragraphs that blamed stress and audience pressure in my tone at the table. I read it once and put it down. An apology that protects the ego isn't an apology. It's a pitch. I returned it with 1 line: you're apologizing for my reaction, not your action. That was the last edit I offered her. Life got obvious after that. The house fund sat where it belonged and grew. News about her drifted in sideways. A coworker told another coworker who told a neighbor. The office had moved on from the bar incident. She hadn't. The shiny guy kept his distance. The friend who laughed the loudest at her jokes muted her stories. The group chat where she once worked material now scrolled past without hearts. The denial she got at the dealership turned into a smaller car with a higher rate in a smaller lot on the edge of town. I didn't smile when I heard it. She tested one last angle in January. A text without flourishes. I booked counseling. Tuesdays at 4. Want you there. 2 screenshots followed. Actual appointments in a real calendar. A 3rd image. A typed apology addressed to me and to the host of that dinner. No excuses, no if you felt. For sentences that landed on the thing itself. I sat with it for a full hour, then another. I asked myself the only question that matters when respect has been broken. Is this repair or is this strategy? My answer was quiet and honest. She was trying to stop a loss. I was building a life. I wrote back and thanked her for taking steps. I told her that my decision stood. I wished her a clean path forward. The next ping was a single word with a period that always costs the sender more than it costs the reader. Understood. I put the phone face down. Paperwork became orders. The separation turned into final language that said exactly what happened and exactly what would happen next. Spring arrived on time. I moved the couch again so the morning light hit the floor in a clean stripe. I bought a secondhand grill because I wanted one. I invited a few friends over, men who carry their weight and leave a place better than they found it. No grand speeches. We ate, we laughed, and when someone asked about the divorce, I said the truth in 1 sentence and went back to the burgers. She exists in my week on the days the calendar says and inside the agreements we both signed. Exchanges are clean. There's no ice, no fake warmth. Sometimes she looks at me like she's searching for the man who would have bent this back to comfort. He moved out with the keys. The man who remains keeps his word to himself. If you're waiting for a twist where I take her back because time's softened the edges, it won't arrive. Because I carry a standard. People confuse kindness with surrender. They think grace means you swallow disrespect and call it growth. That's not grace. That's rot behind pretty paint. The house I'm building won't hide soft spots. It will be sturdy in daylight. I didn't punish her. I did the easier thing that feels harder in the moment. I drew a clear line, enforced it, and lived by it when it got quiet. The consequences that found her were the ones she wrote while she was chasing laughs in a room that wasn't her friend. It's her lesson. Respect isn't a speech I give someone else. It's a promise I keep to myself and then extend from there. It's non-negotiable because the minute you try to sell it, you've already bought a worse life at a higher price. She learned that in public. I learned it again in quiet. The house fund keeps growing. The hinge doesn't squeak. The door opens and closes cleanly. That's the point. If she ever tells this story, she'll drift toward the parts where I was calm when she wanted tears. She'll talk about how I moved money and furniture and dates with a steady hand that felt cruel because it never shook. She'll miss the only detail that matters. My calm wasn't punishment. It was clarity. I didn't leave to make her cry. I left to live where respect is the floor, not the tip jar. When the papers came back stamped and final, I put them in a folder and slid it into the drawer with the ring. Then I closed it and stood at the counter where the stack of mortgage pre-approvals used to sit. I made coffee. I poured a cup and took it out to the steps. The neighborhood was quiet. Somewhere a dog barked at nothing. Somewhere a couple argued about something that wasn't the thing. I drank my coffee and didn't rehearse how to save anyone. Respect is not negotiable. Neither am I.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.